Good morning, all, depending when you're watching this. Good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, I'm going to be showing you one of the best new decks coming out of the recent Forbidden Light expansion. Now, to be fair, Malamar Ultra Necrozma is probably the best deck to come out of Forbidden Light. Certainly if you go by results in Japan, that's true. But I think Beast Box could be almost, if not just as good. So you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I think it's time we had a chat. It's all based around Buzzwole and Naganagel, although we do have a bunch of other cards, which are going to be useful in using these cards to their full potential. Now, Buzzwole does not really need much of an introduction. It's been crushing the metagame lately, in Japan, over here, even as far as being a mirror match in the finals of the Latin American International Championships last weekend. 190 HP is so much better than 180, it avoids a lot of KOs. Then you've got Jet Punch, 1 energy, 30 to the active, 30 to the bench. Knuckle Impact does 160 and can't attack next turn. And Absorption GX for free energy as well, does 40 damage for each prize card you've got remaining. Not good in the late game, very good in the early game. And then, of course, you've got the fighting things to do. You've got Strong Energy that adds 20 damage to your attacks. Diancie Prism Star that adds 20 damage to your attacks, etc., etc. Fighting Pokemon at the moment, very good. Plus, of course, you're hitting weakness on Zoroark. So, let's not spend too much time on Buzzwole. We've talked about him quite a bit. But coming in Forbidden Light, we've got the other Buzzwole. And the other Buzzwole is a very nice Pokemon indeed. Now, the second attack, 80 damage, flip 2 coins, 20 more for each head's fine. But it's not really about the second attack here. It's about the first attack. 1 fighting energy, and if your opponent's got exactly 4 prizes remaining, you do 120 damage. That is crazy good. There are going to be games where your opponent takes a non-GX KO to go down to 5, and then a GX KO to go down to 3, and avoids this Buzzwole entirely. If they do, they do. The idea of doing 120 for just a single energy on a basic Pokemon, too good, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely too gosh darned good. So we play this, and we're only ever going to play one of these. But it's a great Pokemon. It's going to go straight into any Buzzwole deck as a one-off, and in a Beast Box decks, it should go straight in there as well. But the other main Pokemon in this deck is Naganagel. And Naganagel, ladies and gentlemen, is very, very good indeed. Now, there are 2 good things about it. But primarily here, it's the colorless attack. Actually, if you do play this in Expanded, you could use Dimension Valley to use this for free. But we're generally talking standard here. It's for 1 energy, and it does 20 damage for each Ultra Beast that you have in play. So your aim here is to fill your bench up with Ultra Beasts, trying not to use any non-Ultra Beasts, and then you're doing 120 damage for 1 energy. That's great. Now, the best Pokemon in the format at the moment are Zoroark and Buzzwole. I mean, 8 of the top 10 decks in Latin American Internationals were those 2. They're crushing. And now you've got Buzzwole, which hits weakness against Zoroark. And you've got Naganagel, and Naganagel is a great Buzzwole counter. Because quite frankly here, you attach 1 energy and have 4 Ultra Beasts on the bench, and you're hitting 200 damage with weakness to a Buzzwole and getting an easy 1-hit KO. Now, in theory, you can do free energy, 110 damage, but don't. And there is a GX attack here that is really great. Free colorless energy, both players shuffle their prize cards into their deck and put out 3 new prize cards. This is a phenomenal GX attack in 2 circumstances. If you've got a better board than your opponent, if you've set up a bunch of attackers and your opponent's not drawing very well, then you just screw them over using this GX attack. Because if they're not set up and you go down to 3 prizes, it basically means this GX attack takes your first 3 prizes. Now it does for your opponent as well, but that's okay because you've got a better setup. Or if you're just behind, maybe your opponent's taken 5 prizes and you've taken none, they're ahead 5 prizes to none, so you just use this. And then you've both got 3 prizes remaining each, And your opponent has probably used a lot more resources than you have because they've taken 5 prizes. You might even get some games where your opponent has got just enough resources to take 1 more KO, and then you drop this attack. I mean, you could even, and this is not very often going to be the case, but if your opponent has got, say, 2 cards left in deck and 1 prize left to take, you could even deck them out by making them put all 3 of those cards out as prizes, and then they deck out the next turn. It's one of the most ridiculous GX attacks we've ever had, and I love it. Now, there are a couple of other Pokemon to consider here. Obviously, Poipol's got to be played because it evolves into Naganadel, but it's got a decent attack for 2 energy. If it's knocked out next turn, your opponent doesn't take a prize. It's alright. And then there are a couple other Ultra Beasts to consider. Dawnwing's Necrozma is a very nice one, because it gives you kind of a free switch every turn, but you do need to remember that it is weak to Zoroark. That's not ideal, ladies and gentlemen. That's not to say it's not viable and can't be used, but it is to say it is far from ideal. Kartana GX has a really nice GX attack that just takes a prize. Really handy if you've got an uneven number of prizes, or just to take your last prize. Although, unfortunately, this is for metal energy, so you will need to have some metal energy in your deck, or use beast energy, more on that in a moment. And you do have an ability here that's just an enhanced hammer, and to be honest, this is a bench filler that's got a nice useful ability. That'll do for me, ladies and gentlemen. And speaking of bench fillers with useful abilities, how about Nihilego? Nihilego, when you pop it down on the bench, confusion and poison to both active Pokemon. That sounds pretty nice. And yeah, it confuses and poisons your active Pokemon, but you've got Dawnwing's Necrozma to jump in the active Floatstone and Retreat, so you shouldn't worry about this. Ergo, this is absolutely fine to use. One of the biggest downsides of Nihilego is that it's weak to stuff like Garbodor, but of course, so is Poipole. So you shouldn't be too worried about this, to be perfectly honest. Plus, just play 1 and don't bench it and hope you don't start with it if it's in a bad matchup. You should be playing stuff like Tapu Lele here, but there's a strong argument not to play Diancie Prism Star, because Naganadel needs as many Ultra Beasts on your bench as you can possibly get away with. And every time you put a non-Ultra Beast on your bench, it sucks. Essentially, Diancie Prism Star means that Buzzwole does 20 more damage, but Naganadel does 20 less. In some matchups, that's going to be okay, but you need to be careful. In terms of trainers here, we're going to have the useful ones like Professor Sycamore and Cynthia and Ultra Ball and all of that. Go and look at any deck analysis I've ever done. What I want to focus on in this video is the trainers which are really for the Ultra Beast deck, and there are a few phenomenal ones. First of all, B-String. B-String, if your opponent's got 3 or 4 prizes remaining, and it's very, very unlikely they're going to go from 5 prizes remaining to 2, possible but very unlikely, you can attach 2 basic energy from your deck to one of your Ultra Beasts. It is a really, really good card that is great energy acceleration. Now, you may still want to play Max Elixir, but I'm really not a fan of it in Beast Box. I think you're better off just using B-String. And when your opponent is down to 3 or 4 prizes, you dig and dig and dig. Remember, if you play 4 B-String and hit 2 of them, you get as many energy as playing 4 Max Elixir and hitting all 4 of them. I'll take that, ladies and gentlemen. I'll take it. It's also how we get Naganadel's GX attack rolling without having to rely on double colourless energy. We also have Ultra Space here. It's a new stadium where once a turn, you can search for an Ultra Beast. It's amazing. You want to play it here. You still probably play Ultra Ball, but Ultra Space is amazing here. Plus, it gives you a nice counter stadium against Parallel City, which your opponent will be playing to try and reduce the number of bench Pokemon you've got to try and reduce the damage output of Naganadel here. You've also got Ultra Recon Squad here. Discard 2 Ultra Beasts from your hand. Draw 3 cards for each one you discard. Not a huge fan. I think there's better draw cards, and honestly, I think a lot of the time you're going to want to play your Ultra Beasts rather than discarding them. It's an option here, but I don't think it's a great one. Speaking of options that aren't that great, how about Beast Ball? Look at your face down prize cards, choose an Ultra Beast you find there and put it into your hand. It's fine, but it's nothing more than fine. It's okay. It's good enough. But it's not particularly great. I think Ultra Space and Ultra Ball are going to give you all of the draw power you need to find your Ultra Beast. I don't think you need it. I do, however, think you need Beast Energy. Beast Energy is a great little one of, and it is a Prism Star, so you can only play one of it, but you just get to have any kind of energy, kind of like a rainbow energy for your Ultra Beast. Except instead of taking a damage counter, you do an extra 30 damage. So I suppose it's kind of like a Choice Band, except Choice Band only does 30 more to EXs and GXs, and this does 30 more to anything. Now, there are arguments to just play Fighting Energy and Beast Energy here, because if you play Strong, you can't use it with Naganagel, who should be your main attacker in about half of your games, especially if Buzzwole remains as good as it is, and it's going to be frustrating if you've got a KO on a Buzzwole, but you can only find a Strong Energy. Similarly, Double Colorless Energy might seem good for Naganagel and the GX attack, but it can't be used for Buzzwole, and similarly, you might want to play Psychic Energy for Naganagel's second attack, but you can't use it for Buzzwole, who's all Fighting Energy. So I do believe here that the best way to play this is just to play Beast Energy and Fighting. It does mean the only metal you'll have for Kartana is Beast Energy, if you choose to play it, and it does mean that you won't be able to play Nihilego and attack with it, but I think those are things we're willing to give up here. I think Buzzwole and Naganagel together could be a very good, very consistent deck with good matchups against the best decks in the format, and I am a big fan, so I heartily suggest you go and have a play. And of course, let me know what you think about this deck in the comment section. Also, make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWossy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do just that. And do check out my video game/Dragon Ball Super channel, Wossy Plays. We're over 1,000 subs now. Let's keep going to 10,000. Yay! But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.